and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Ash Couchman, and I cannot wait to find moments of joy with you today. If you don't already, head over to our Instagram at Everyday Joy Pod. Make sure that you follow us, make sure you're in amongst all the fun, but let's dive into today's words to live by.
In John 13 verse 34, it says, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another."
So good to have you on the podcast, babe.
Thank you.
Welcome back to another day.
Another day.
Now, if I think about too much, I'll cry, and I cry probably at least, maybe not once a week anymore, but probably once every fortnight about how much I loved our wedding and how much I just wish we could live it all over again.
Yeah.
What was like your highlight from the wedding and that whole day?
I couldn't even pinpoint it to one. I'd say just almost like, not the vibe, but just
the
like
vibe.
Just the vibe. Like, it was just such a happy moment to see like all our family in one spot and all our dearest and closest friends and family all in one room together and just like, I don't like using the word vibe, but I just say the vibe.
I feel like it was just a very emotional day.
It was happy as well.
But like happy emotional. It wasn't like we were sad. It was like we look at our lives and we feel so blessed by the people that are around us.
Yeah.
We have the greatest friends, the greatest family. Like, we feel so blessed to have the community that we have. And so I think for both of us to have so many people around us that care for us the way that they do, and us for them, I think it just made for this like tornado of emotion that we literally just cried the whole day long.
Yeah.
And it was so perfect and so beautiful. And I always cry because I'm like, I just wish that we could relive it again.
Exactly.
Well, let's jump into the verse, John 13, verse 34. "A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." What are your first thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think initially it's, as we were speaking yesterday on yesterday's podcast, it's relevant to yesterday's verse of, in those moments when Jesus says, what are the greatest commands? And he first says to love our God with all our heart, soul and mind. And then coming off the back of that, and the second most important new command that he gives us is love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. And I think that it's so cool about the love and the grace that God has given us, that now that us as followers, we should extend that to those around us.
It kind of humbles us to be like, why am I holding on to these dumb like things of unforgiveness or these things that people have done or treated me? We truly go, man, God has forgiven every sin that we've ever committed and will ever commit. And so it makes me want to be aligned with what God is doing and his character.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that's not necessarily easy because sometimes, there's such deep hurt and frustration and disappointment, but it is a moment of going, wow, like even reflecting on yesterday's episode, if the most important things are summed up in 2 sentences, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and then love your neighbor as yourself, or this verse, love one another as I have loved you, we really are called to love people.
Exactly.
And I know so many people that joke around about, being like, oh, I just don't like being around people, or I just don't this. But realistically, God's calling us to love people no matter what. Like, we are truly called to love through everything in every circumstance.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible that is the foundation that God gives us.
Yeah.
Love God and love other people. And so I think it's a challenge for us to love even when it's not easy. And I think just at the end of the day, it shows us that God wants us to love people.
Yeah.
It's not just a nice sentiment where we go, oh yeah, we're Christians, we love people. No, it is under loving God, it is the next most important thing. And so I think it's probably humbling for us to remember and reflect and make sure that we have that heart posture when we encounter people and when people annoy us and frustrate us. Yeah. And I probably need to hear that too, because I wouldn't say I have a deep wounds of disliking people. It's not really in my character.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can get frustrated quite quickly in the moment with people.
That's fair.
And I really don't want that. Even though I don't often let it get deep, I don't want that frustration to be my initial reaction to things. I want it to be full of grace and forgiveness like Christ has done for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me as well, it's like I went through a couple of years ago, there was like this an analogy someone once told me, which helped me go on this journey of, and very much as you said before, that we often find it so easy to love those that are around us, and it's so easy, or it's not so easy, it's easier to love those around us that love us, that are kind to us, that are good to us. But often there's the struggle of those who don't treat us fairly. And for me, it was almost like a couple of years ago, I had this, I was going on a bit of a journey of sometimes the hard part is when it's people that are close to us. It's the people that don't treat us fairly, that don't treat us kind, that are close to us, that we find it hard to love them, because it's like, they're close to us, so we have to love them, but then...
And you're like, you know who I am. Like,
yeah,
you know
exactly.
my character. Why would you do this?
Yeah, so I think for me, I just went on that journey of looking at those people that don't treat us fairly, that don't treat us right, that... obviously, there's boundaries and stuff you got to put in place, but to actually go and look at a wider perspective to almost look at them with the Jesus perspective on, the Jesus goggles, and just go, hey, like... this person may have done this to me, but at the end of the day, they are still a son or a daughter of God, and Jesus still loves them, and so I need to as well. And obviously, it's harder in some circumstances, and it's easier in some. But to just go on that journey of going, it's easy to love the people that are near us, that are close to us, that are good to us. But how can we love those people that, one, maybe we don't even know, or new people in our world, or our literal neighbors or work colleagues or whatever that may look like, but to just go, hey, how can I love the people that are around me each and every single day?
And in that situation you were just talking about, was it just that mentality of they're a child of God that helped you to switch your perspective, or was there something else as well?
I think it didn't, like, obviously, because years later, there's still, in that specific circumstance, there's still not the greatest relationship. But for me, it's like we're called to pray for those people. And so when we do love one another, it's so often, as you were saying before, that it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get triggered.
It's like, and there's another thing.
Exactly, there's another thing. But in moments, and each circumstance is different, is to go, hey, let's, in moments, there's times to not pursue friendships or whatnot, but to just say, just to love from a distance. But in that journey, for me personally, is when the biggest time is just in my prayer time, and when I was praying for this said person, because we need to pray for our loved ones, but pray for the people that do wrong by us as we go through that forgiveness journey. But to really just, as I was praying for them, to just go through, Lord, and just being real and raw and honest with God, and just say, hey, you know exactly what they've done to me, but I don't know their intentions, but you still love them. And so God, and just in that moment of just going, God, I know that in this season is hard, but I know that you love them, so can you help me love them? And just go on that journey with God.
Yeah. I admire that about you, because
it's not easy.
It's not easy, but I feel like you've taught me that a lot, and you've taught me the like power of taking a step back and truly seeing them through that lens of who God is, and how God sees them, because it does change the perspective, because we're broken, we make mistakes ourselves, and when we look at it in that lens, I think it helps us to truly see that, even if we can't fully understand it, even if, like you said, even if the relationship doesn't change, you in your heart can love and love well, despite what's happened.
Exactly.
A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. Like we said in today's episode, this can be a challenging verse, a challenging, humbling, and sometimes difficult thing to understand. Now, no matter what, we are called to love others because God has loved us first. Now, Tobes had a great thought. What you can do is pray for those people. If you've been struggling to love someone in your world, if you've been struggling with a relationship or a friendship, whatever it is, take the time to pray for them. Ask God, like Toby said, Lord, I know you love them. Help me to love them too. Whatever prayer that needs to be prayed, whatever situation it is, would you pray that today? Would you ask God to help you to see how much He loves them and help to give you a new perspective? I cannot wait to dive even deeper into the Word of God with you tomorrow. But until then, I pray you're able to find moments of joy.